Perhaps it's one of the most criticized architectural projects in Dutch history. It's been compared to looking like a theme park or a badly generated AI image. Many people argue it just looks too fake. But this place is real. Very real. But why did the Dutch rebuild the city center of this historic small city in such an unconventional style? Well, they did it to save the city, and guess what? They succeeded. This is how quirky architecture saved Zaandam. Since Zaandam is located right next to Amsterdam, I decided to hop on a train from Amsterdam Centraal, and 12 minutes later I arrived at Zaandam Station, which looks unassuming from the inside, but once you exit, you almost feel like you accidentally stepped into a theme park. You are hit with bright colors, whimsical buildings with wooden facades that look like they were almost glued on. Some look traditional but not historically accurate. They look clean, new, almost like a set. It feels very different from any other Dutch city I've been to before. Another thing I noticed is how many tourists are here. I didn't expect it to be just as busy as it was back home in Amsterdam. But 20 years ago, this wasn't the case at all. For a long time, Zaandam wasn't regarded as being particularly attractive, and a big reason for that was the way it looked. It also didn't have the best reputation anymore. Yes, that's right, I said anymore. Because once Zaandam was actually flourishing. In the 1600s and early 1700s, this region became one of the earliest and most concentrated industrial areas in the world. The biggest driver was the large-scale use of windmills for industry. This revolutionized shipbuilding, construction, and trade. By the late 1600s, the Zaan region had between 600 and 1,000 windmills. The fast and cheap ship production helped the Dutch dominate global trade. Russian Tsar Peter the Great even came to Zaandam in 1697 to study Dutch shipbuilding techniques. Zaandam wasn't just about ships though. Windmills powered many industries, like the spice industry, processing cocoa, tobacco and other spices that the Dutch imported. Zaandam had the perfect location, close to Amsterdam, with access to the important rivers as well as the Zuiderzee and the North Sea. All of this combined was the perfect combination to make the local economy resilient and wealthy, turning Zaandam into an industrial powerhouse. But by the 1700s, wind power was overtaken by steam power. International competition increased, and the Dutch Republic lost maritime dominance. But while industry declined, Zaandam was still known for its sheer beauty. The Dutch countryside, with its windmills, waterways and dikes, attracted artists like Claude Monet, who stayed here for a couple of months painting his fascination for this region. He reportedly stated, "There is enough here to paint for a lifetime." But by the 1900s, there wasn't much left of that. Many of the historic buildings were left to decay or were torn down, canals were changed to broad streets, and traditional buildings were replaced by concrete slabs. Everything that made the city proud of its identity was kind of lost or left to rot. But in the early 2000s, a daring master plan was initiated under the name of Inverdun, an old word from the local dialect of Dutch which roughly translates to weirdly placed or backwards. Designed by architect Sjoerd van Soeters with Soeters van Eldonk Architects, the goal of this master plan was to revive the city's identity and create a better functioning and more attractive city center. It transformed the fragmented city center into a clear physical and social center that linked the train station and city hall to the shopping streets, river and old town. Architecturally, they drew inspiration from the iconic Zaanse wooden houses, their vibrant colors and human-scale patterns creating a local character rather than bland modernism in an attempt to revive the traditional sense of identity and architecture. The Gedemptegracht Canal was re-excavated and incorporated back into the center as a canal front route and public landscape feature. Alongside the canal, Solus buildings were reconstructed to feature staple traditional colors, materials and shapes, creating a postmodern typical Dutch playful patchwork of buildings. They took reviving the traditional architecture quite literally, creating this extremely fun and at times cliché 21st century attempt of traditional architecture. Just look at the playful and striking City Hall. Rather than a typical civic box, it looks like a row plus of oversized traditional Zaanse houses, placed together as one structure. The colorful wooden facade echoes the historic wooden houses of the Zaan region. Its roof lines and gables mimic classic Dutch house shapes, but reimagined at a large and contemporary scale, decorated with municipal arms and playful ornaments like these tulips, almost giving it a storybook feel rather than feeling like a cold formal institution. The building is elevated above the bus station, with the main entrance and public functions facing the square near the train station, but the most striking and whimsical architectural landmark is the Intel Hotel. The facade looks like nearly 70 traditional Dutch houses stacked and merged together to form one tall hotel building. These house fronts are painted in various shades of the classic colors of blue and green, with a white trim, evoking a wooden house typical of this region. The mix includes a variety of house types, from stately residences to simple cottages, giving the impression of a fairy tale village pushed upward into a 12-story tower. Because of buildings like these, tourists now flock to Zaandam to take selfies. This would have never happened in the grey, sad state the city was in 30 years ago. Although many people argue that Zaandam city center looks fake, inauthentic and too unserious, without it Zaandam wouldn't have been the tourist magnet it is today, bringing in lots of people and money to this region. Whether you like the way Zaandam looks, or think it's an architectural abomination, as the Dutch say, over smaak valt niet te twisten.